Hey guys, welcome to my channel Hammonds Hobbies. My name's Glenn and today a slightly different video to what I normally do. Normally I unpack cards and show you guys what cards I pull, but today I want to talk about the recent allegations that Red Bull were found to be cheating and how some Lewis Hamilton hardcore fans are just they're clinging on to a small bit of hope that actually the FIA may go back and change that result from last year if they're found to be wrongdoing on Red Bull's behalf, thus making Lewis Hamilton an 8-time world champion. Well, I'm going to discuss in this video why I believe that that will never happen, and if it does, I will eat this Max Verstappen turbo attack from 2021. Let's get right into it. So thank you for joining this video. I really want your feedback on this, guys. If you like me doing these sort of like key points of F1 throughout the year, like little short topic videos where I'm not unpacking cards as such, but just talking about F1 in general, please smash up the like button. If I get loads of likes on this video, then I'll know that you guys have liked this content. Or just comment down below, just comment saying, yeah, really enjoyed that, Glenn, or no, actually just go back to unpacking cards. Then I know what sort of content you guys like. But this was a topic I wanted to bring up because I've seen people in the Facebook groups, Instagram, commenting saying Lewis could be crowned an 8-time world champion because of what's happening with Red Bull. And I've been watching F1 since I was about 8 years old, and I know that this will not happen. I'm going to give a bit of background text and sort of justify my reasons why I think that that's going to happen. If it does happen, I will pledge that I will eat this turbo attack from 2021, a Max Verstappen card, live on this channel. I'll go live and I'll sit there, and I'm being serious, I will sit there and eat this card if they adjust Max Verstappen's championship winning year from last year and change it so it changes the result. If that happens, I will eat this card. So that is worth subscribing for, just in case. So let's go have a chat about what's happened and where we're at right now. So it's just come out that all the teams submitted their accounts from March earlier on this year, but a couple of teams have been suspected that they overspent on the 145 million price cap that all the team bosses agreed to for last year. Now, to give you a bit of background context, the reason that this rule was brought into place is since I've been watching F1, there's always been a couple of teams that just massively overspend way more than all the other teams. Now, for most of my life, that has been McLaren and Ferrari. Those two teams just always had the best drivers. They had the best cars, the most reliable cars. They just always finish races all the time. Over the years, we've seen Mercedes come into it, who Mercedes have been a major engine supplier and sponsor of McLaren. But Mercedes came into it and obviously created their own team. And then you also had a lower end team. I believe they were Minardi before, off the top of my head, but you had a lower end team get bought out and heavily sponsored by Red Bull, but also given the money to become a championship winning team. Obviously Red Bull with the whole Gives You Wings brand, Formula One being sort of like an extreme fast sport, it just tied in with their brand and everything, so they just said, right, spend what you want. And Red Bull just really, since they came into it, have just taken off. So you've now got 3 or 4 big teams that spend a lot of money, but Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari now really sort of way out the front. That means that the little guys, the smaller teams or the lower budget teams, they get left behind. And that also makes other manufacturers that are looking like, oh, should we join Formula One? They're thinking, well, no, like Formula One, if you have a half decent year, it typically brings in, say, 150 million in revenue. But the guys that are winning are spending 300-400 million. So they're like well in the red. So no, we're not going to do that. So it's actually deterring new teams coming into the sport. So what all the team bosses decided to do was agree to this rule that they would have a price cap. And I remember for years they were talking about it, and Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes kept throwing it out and saying, nope, it's too low, it's too low, it's too low. So in the end, they've come to this figure of 145 million. It's meant to close the packs up so that all the midfield teams have just the same amount of opportunity in that 145 million to run and operate an F1 team and be competitive. So hopefully over the next coming years, you're going to see that bunch right up. But what we've got now is Red Bull have actually overspent, and as Martin Brundle said in F1 commentary, he said, I believe all the teams are overspending, but they're hiding it in very clever accountancy. They're saying like, well, Hammonds, that's part of our logistics team, it's not part of the F1 team, so we can spend this and that on logistics, this and this on staff because that's under our recruitment brand, this is our promotional brand. So they're hiding different sums of money in different companies and firms, but Red Bull seem to be massively over, is what they're being alleged. And these are all just my opinions. I'm not an accountant, I've never seen their accounts, I don't know any of this, but based on the body language and the language that Christian Horner was using this weekend, because I've just watched the Singapore Grand Prix, awesome race, it was a 2-hour long race, I thought it was quite interesting all the way through. He has used language like, instead of coming out and saying, no, we absolutely have not, I believe that we have not overspent at all, and anyone who says anything otherwise is lying. Instead of coming out with a firm stance like that, he has come out and said, oh, the rules were brought in last year, it was a new rule, so no one quite knew how to go about it. The rules are open for interpretation, and we've interpreted it maybe a different way to others, and so that leads me to believe that he knows, oh yeah, actually we might come a bit unstuck here, because he's already justifying what's going on. So that's my view, that's my, I'm just basing it all on sort of what Christian Horner's saying. So on Wednesday, as we're recording this video, it's Sunday, we've just watched the Grand Prix, 2nd of October. On Wednesday, they're going to come out and they're going to release whether Red Bull did exceed the limits. Now, what Sky have come out and said is that there's actually 2 categories that they could fall into, either a minor offence or a major offence. I'm going to put the different penalties up on display here for you, but in both of them I think they have point deductions for driver or constructor, fines, and also like future time with wind tunnels and aerodynamic packages and stuff like that. But if it's a minor one, which means they haven't gone, they've gone up to 5%, which 5% of 145 million off the top of my head is 152 million. So if they've spent up to 152 million, then they are in the minor category, so they could have points taken them away from them. But if they spent more than 5%, so more than 152 million, then they're in the major, which means that they've gone way over. And things like that could be disqualification from the whole competition of last year, points deducted, driver points deducted, future bans in races. So a lot of people, and I wasn't going to do a video based on that because that's just stuff that happens in F1 all the time, but I'm seeing a lot of people in the group saying, oh, this means Lewis could be declared the F1 champion from last year and he'll be an 8-time world champion. Well, I'm just going to say now, that will never happen. I believe that so much. Like I say, I'm putting my neck out on the line and I will eat this card in front of you all. And these don't taste very nice, I'm sure, with the ink and the cardboard. But the reason that I believe that that will never happen is it puts a bad light on the FIA. It puts a bad light on F1 in general. All the people that celebrated Max winning that world title, all the like he's got the #1 on his car this year, all the sport betting that took place, all the people that lost money because they betted on Lewis Hamilton winning the world title. Would they have to go back and change this, and would they have to take the #1 away from him? And he's raced with that most of this year, like, so you'd have to nullify it for this year, and it becomes very messy, very ugly, messy. And I've seen in the past teams like, say, McLaren. I've always been a McLaren supporter. McLaren got caught cheating using copied parts and bits from employees that they'd taken over from Ferrari, and they got fined 100 million euros, I believe, which I think at the time was the highest fine that a sporting organisation had ever received from any sports. It was all over the news, and I think in the end they either only paid half of it or but they didn't really suffer that badly from it. They still had a couple of really good years after that. Then we had like Nelson Piquet Jr. He crashed into the car, oddly enough, at Singapore a few years back, and he purposely crashed into the wall. He was told to by his team boss, and that brought out a safety car. And because that brought out a safety car, Alonso was currently leading that race, and that went on for Fernando Alonso to win that race. And they still didn't get deducted, like kicked out of the championship, or their results from the year before get changed and stuff like that. So, and I know that's different because they weren't fighting for a world title, but they still didn't say, right, you've got 0 points for your whole team or anything like that, as far as I can remember. So if they didn't do it for that, they're not going to do it because of this new rule that they brought in last year, that they can't spend too much money within the sport. So I just wanted to sort of, I don't know, give a bit of context, give a bit of background. I know some of you have only just started watching Formula 1 in the last year or two, but yeah, they're not just going to go back and go, oh yeah, actually just scrap his world title from last year. And also, listening to a lot of Lewis Hamilton's, throughout the years, Lewis Hamilton, obviously he's won 8 world titles, but he's also lost. I mean, he's been in it since 2007, so he's also lost, I can't work that out off the top of my head, 7 years, where he's either been third, second or first in the world title championship hunt, and he's missed out, lost, and he's always said, I don't want to win a championship in a court. I don't want to win a championship given to me by the FIA. I want to win it on the track in front of everyone. And that could just be him being sportsmanly, or just saying that politically even. But I honestly believe it. I don't think. I know that last year they said, look, we could take this to a Supreme Court because of the way that they did the safety car. And Lewis actually came out and said, no, I don't want Mercedes to pursue it anymore. And then that was it. Mercedes dropped it, and obviously they still had their little digs and stuff. But I honestly believe that Lewis doesn't want to win world titles like that. So even if it was to happen, I don't think he'd want it. So that's my view on it. I'd love to hear your views. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. I can't see this happening. I think it is going to come out. If anything, I believe that Red Bull will probably get a fine, or they'll. What I would really like to see, as a fan of obviously F1 in general, not just a Lewis Hamilton fan, I would love to see points deducted from Red Bull and Perez and Max Verstappen, all three of them, because they've gained an unfair advantage. If that is the case on Wednesday, I'd like points deducted off them this year, because then, although Max is going to win it and Red Bull are going to win it, even if they got deducted like 100 points each, he probably still will win it, which they won't deduct that many points. That's ridiculous. But if that would bring, for the last 5 races of the year, that would bring it right back up, and Charles Leclerc would be back in the picture, Perez would be back in the picture, Lewis, George, and at the minute we're seeing Mercedes and Red Bull and Ferrari all quite close to each other. So that would actually give us a really good 5 races, or very close-knit races, towards the end of this year. So I would like them to do something like that. That would actually improve the show and the sport, I believe, going forward for this year, if they have gained an unfair advantage due to these technicalities or these financial spends. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think they should alter last year's result, or do you think they should maybe just get a slap on the wrist, or do you think maybe they're innocent completely and they won't receive any fine? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd like to start a bit of conversation, as long as everyone's polite and pleasant to each other, no disrespect to anyone. Comment down below, or you can contact me through social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all with the name Hammonds Hobbies. Or you can join my F1 Facebook group called F1 Sports Cards, where we post memes, buy, sells, trades, and we talk about topics like this in group chat. So feel free to come and join that group. It's completely free and open to everyone. But that's it from me, guys. If on Wednesday they do announce that they're going to alter Max Verstappen's title winning championship from last year, like I say, I will go live and I will eat this card. So I'm going to keep this aside, maybe put some salt and vinegar on it. And we'll see what happens on Wednesday. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.